All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to shift our focus completely away from the mechanics of rockets and, well, look inward. We're taking a deep dive into the biological realities of surviving, adapting, and reproducing off Earth. For decades, we focused so heavily on the engineering side of space travel, the thrust, the hulls, the life support systems. But now, we're going to examine the human system, taking these concepts from science fiction straight into science fact. And honestly, it is absolutely awe-inspiring to see the kind of biological research currently being conducted in low Earth orbit and microgravity. So that brings us to a massive question. Are we actually biologically equipped to become a multiplanetary species? Because space is for sure the ultimate antagonist. Before we can even think about colonizing other worlds, we really have to understand how the void challenges our DNA, our adult bodies, and fundamentally, our ability to reproduce. I mean, evolution has shaped us for millions of years within a very specific 1G environment, and stepping outside of that comfortable little bubble brings up some absolutely profound biological hurdles. To understand these hurdles, we need to look at a concept coined by Dr. Jim Logan, the gravity prescription, or GRX for short. We really need to start viewing gravity not just as a physical force that keeps our feet on the ground, but as a crucial medical dosage that is literally necessary for human survival. Think of it like a daily medicine. How much gravity do we need? For how long? And a huge question, does a full-grown adult need the exact same dose as a developing child?
Section 1. Engineering the void. The micro level.
Okay, before we figure out how humans are going to survive, we have to look at the organisms we'll be taking with us and how they might actually help us survive. Starting at the very bottom of the biological ladder, bacteria possess this incredible genetic versatility that allows them to adapt to insanely harsh environments. Research by David C. White and Peter Hirsch highlights that we can literally engineer microbes to do our heavy lifting. For example, they can be used to harvest lunar hydrogen directly from the fine dust of the lunar regolith. Just think about that, bacteria acting as self-replicating catalysts. Plus, if lunar soils contain toxic heavy metals, bacteria can develop extreme tolerances and actually share that genetic resistance with other cells through plasma transfer. They're essentially trading survival blueprints with one another to remediate the soil. It's biology acting as the ultimate off-world mining and processing tool. Moving right along to Section 2, saving the adult body, the macro level. So, moving up the biological ladder from microbes to mammals, we face the massive challenge of preserving the complex adult body when we take away Earth's gravity. It's one thing for a single-celled organism to adapt, but what about us? Decades of spaceflight have shown us that an adult body quickly decays without its evolutionary anchor. Imagine your bones literally losing their density and your muscles shrinking just because the Earth isn't pulling on you anymore. In microgravity, astronauts also deal with ocular changes and a serious weakening of the immune system. We know for a fact we need gravity, but the million-dollar question is exactly how much? JAXA, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, has been studying this exact adult gravity prescription using mice in their Mars short-arm centrifuge, and the results are fascinating. If you look at lunar gravity, which is about 1/6 g, it actually prevents outright muscle mass loss. But here's the catch. It completely fails to prevent changes in muscle fiber type. That means endurance muscles still switch over to fast-twitch muscles, and it totally fails to stop microgravity-induced gene modifications. Even stepping up to Mars gravity at 0.33 g only partially prevents this switch. It isn't until they hit a 0.67 g dose that muscle fiber function is fully protected and those gene modifications are completely stopped in their tracks. And this brilliantly illustrates a key point. A highly specific minimum dosage of gravity is absolutely required to keep adults functioning on long, deep space journeys. 0.67, that's the magic number identified in this study to fully maintain strength and normal muscle condition. This is going to be crucial data for designing future space stations or figuring out the exact spin rate specifications for interplanetary transports, like a Mars cycler, just to make sure the crew stays healthy.
Which brings us to Section 3, the elephant in the room, reproduction.
Now, keeping an adult alive, that's relatively easy compared to the most daunting biological hurdle of space settlement, multi-generational reproduction in less than 1D. This is the giant elephant in the space station living room that we urgently need to talk about. We really only have snapshots of data right now, but they paint a pretty concerning picture of the severe risks involved in embryonic and fetal development off-world. Remember, for millions of years, mammalian reproduction has exclusively evolved in Earth's strict 1G environment. When we tested pregnant mice during the shuttle era, exposure to microgravity resulted in serious issues with brain development. More recently, in 2019, an ISS study did manage to show that a 4-day mouse embryo could grow in microgravity.
But guys, 4 days is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the reproductive cycle. To truly know if we can safely raise families off-world, we have an urgent need for fully equipped, variable gravity biolabs to test the entire life cycle of mammalian reproduction across multiple generations.
So the crucial takeaway here is the stark contrast between managing adult health, which, we're kind of learning to mitigate, and the terrifying unknowns of the reproductive gravity prescription. If you're a full-grown adult, we can probably just spin a centrifuge or put you on a Mars cycler and keep you relatively healthy. But a developing fetus, an infant, we literally don't know if the gravity on the moon or Mars is enough to prevent dangerous complications. It's a massive, unresolved mystery that the scientific community is actively grappling with right now.
Let's explore a potential fix in Section 4, the split life cycle solution. If gestating and raising kids on the low-gravity surfaces of the moon or Mars turns out to be biologically devastating, researchers Kelly and Matt Weinersmith have proposed a really elegant societal solution. And it's a concept that's definitely gaining traction among space settlement advocates. Instead of forcing a choice between free space rotating colonies and planetary surface bases, colonists would simply split their lives. This ensures a safe 1G start for the next generation. It's called the split life cycle. And it involves building rotating orbital birthing centers. Think of them as cosmic nurseries or orbital daycares spinning above the moon or Mars. Couples would conceive, bear children, and raise them in this healthy, artificial 1G environment until they reach physical maturity. Only after reaching physical maturity in those orbital birthing centers would these young adults actually commute down to work and live in lunar or Martian surface habitats. Picture these incredible architectural concepts from the Lunar and Planetary Institute, massive A-frames made of horizontal cylinders covered in thick pent roof shielding, designed to protect everyone from deadly cosmic radiation and the harsh vacuum of space. This split approach means we wouldn't have to completely abandon the surfaces of these worlds. We just have to be really smart about where our biology dictates we grow up.
And that brings us to the broader societal implications of all this. Figures like Elon Musk have argued that having children will eventually have to become a kind of social duty for colonists, basically to prevent population collapse. Now, regardless of where you stand on that specific debate, the biological reality remains absolutely the same. We simply cannot build a city of 1 million people on Mars without answering the reproductive gravity prescription first. It's non-negotiable. So as we continue to turn science fiction into science fact, we really must ask ourselves how the gravity prescription will ultimately shape the literal birth of our cosmic future. Will biology force us to build our nurseries in the stars while we commute down to mine the rocks below? Will our first off-world generations be children of the planetary surface or children of the spinning void above it? It's a fascinating challenge, and one that proves, without a doubt, that the most complex machine we will ever take into space is the human body itself. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking up.